Hey guys, welcome to our third read aloud. I have a special guest today. It's Emma. Can you say hi?
Hi.
She's going to pretend to be you guys so that I don't have to read to myself alone today, which is exciting. Who remembers what chapter we're on for today? What number do you think it is? Say it out loud if you know. Emma's going to read it.
29.
Chapter 29. All right, so the centipede is purple, and we're going to see what happens. You ready? Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable? Are you calm? Are you calm? Great. It seemed like a long time before the seagulls were able to pull the peach away from the horrible rainbow cloud, but they managed it at last, and then everybody gathered around the wretched is a word, you don't want to be wretched, it's like the very, very bad centipede, and began arguing about the best way to get the paint off his body. He really did look a sight. He was purple all over, and now that the paint was beginning to dry and harden, he was forced to sit very stiff and upright, as though he were encased in cement. That's like concrete. And all 42 of his legs were sticking straight out in front of him like rods. He tried to say something, but his lips wouldn't move. Can you try that? All he could do was make a gurgling noise out of his throat. Can you do it? The old green grasshopper reached out and touched him carefully on the stomach. But how could it possibly have dried so quickly, he said. It's rainbow paint, James answered. Rainbow paint dries very quick and very hard. I detest paint, Miss Spider announced. It frightens me. It reminds me of Aunt Spiker. Yes, the late Aunt Spiker. I mean, because the last time she painted her kitchen ceiling, my poor darling grandmother stepped into it by mistake when it was wet, and there she stuck. And all through the night, we could hear her calling to us, help, help, help. And it was heartbreaking to listen to her. But what could we do? Not a thing until the next day when the paint had dried. And then, of course, we all rushed over to her and calmed her down and gave her some food. Believe it or not, she lived for 6 months like that. Upside down on the ceiling with her legs stuck permanently in the paint. She really did. We fed her every day. We brought her fresh flies straight from the web. But then on the 26th of April, last Aunt Sponge, the late Aunt Sponge, happened to glance up at the ceiling and spotted her and said, a spider! A disgusting spider! Quick, fetch me the mop with the long handle, and then, oh, this does not seem like it's going to be good. Oh, it was an awful, I can't even bear to think of it. Miss Spider wiped away a tear and looked sadly at the centipede. You poor thing, she murmured. I do feel sorry for you. It'll never come off, the earthworm said brightly. Our centipede will never move again. He will turn into a statue, and we shall be able to put him in the middle of the lawn with a bird bath on the top of his head. We could try peeling him like a banana, said the old green grasshopper. Or rubbing him with sandpaper, the ladybug said. Now, if he stuck out his tongue, the earthworm said, smiling a little for perhaps the first time in his life, if he stuck it out really far, then he could all catch hold of it, and then we could all catch hold of it and start pulling. And if we pulled hard enough, we would turn him inside out, and he would have new skin. That's not a very nice idea. There was a pause while the others considered this interesting proposal. I think, James said slowly, I think that the best thing to do, and then he stopped. What was that? He asked quickly. I heard a voice. I heard something shouting. And that is the
end of that chapter.
And guess what? Now we're on chapter 30, and chapter 30 is also super duper short. Oh, I just ripped a page. Did you hear that? Super duper short, and so we're going to read 2 chapters today. Is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They all raised their heads listening. Shh! There it is again. But the voice was too far away for them to hear what it was saying. "It's a cloud man," Miss Spider cried. "I just know it's a cloud man. They're after us again." "It came from above," the earthworm said, and automatically everybody looked upward, everybody except the centipede, who couldn't move. That's right. "Ouch," they said. "Help! Mercy! We're going to catch it this time." For now they saw swirling and twisting over their heads was an immense black cloud, a terrible, dangerous, thundery-looking thing that began to rumble and roar even as they were staring right at it. And then from high up on the cloud of the mountain, on high up top of the cloud, the faraway voice came down to them once again, this time very loud and very clear. "On with the faucets!" it shouted. "On with the faucets! On with the faucets!" Then, 3 seconds later, the hole underneath of the cloud seemed to split and burst open like a paper bag. And then out came the water. They saw it coming. It was quite easy to see because it wasn't just raindrops. It wasn't raindrops at all. It was a great solid mass of water that might have been a lake or a whole ocean dropping out of the sky on top of them, and down it came, down and down and
Down.
That's right, crashing first onto the seagulls and then onto the peach itself, while the poor travelers shrieked with fear and groped around frantically for something to catch hold of. The peach stems, silk strings, anything they could find, and all the time the water came pouring and roaring down upon them, bouncing and splashing and sloshing and slashing and swashing and swirling and surging and whirling and gurling and gushing and rushing and rushing. And it was like being pinned down underneath the biggest waterfall in the world and not being able to get up. They couldn't even speak. They couldn't see. They couldn't breathe. And James Henry Trotter, holding on madly to one of the silk strings above the peach stem, told himself that this must surely be the end of them at last. But then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. They were out of it, and it was all over. The wonderful seagulls had flown right through it and had come out safely on the other side. That's right. Once again, the giant peach was sailing peacefully through the mysterious moonlit sky. "I am drowned," gasped the old green grasshopper, spitting out water by the pint. "It's gone right through my skin," the earthworm groaned. "I've always thought of my skin was waterproof, but now it's not, and I am full of rain." Look at me," shouted the centipede excitedly. Make a prediction. Why do you think the centipede is so excited?
Because he's free of the paint.
That's right. I bet you knew that too. Look at me," he said excitedly. "I am washed clean. The paint is gone and I can move again." That's the worst news I've heard in a long time. Who do you think said that? The earthworm, right? The centipede was dancing around the deck and turned somersaults in the air and singing at the top of his voice. Are you ready for the song?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. "Oh, hooray for the storm and the rain. I can move, I don't feel any pain. And now I'm a pest. I'm the biggest and the best, the marvelous pest once again. Oh, douche," the old green grasshopper said. "Look at me," cried the centipede. "Look at me, I am freed, not a scratch, nor a bruise, nor a bleed. To his grave this fine gent they all thought they had sent, and I very near went, oh, I very near went, but they sent quite the wrong centipede." And that
Is the end of that chapter.
Okay, so this was an interesting chapter. The problem for the centipede. What was the problem for the centipede, are you thinking?
The paint.
He was stuck like a statue. And then the solution for the centipede was a deluge. Lots of water coming down, right? So we have one problem and one solution. We have a poem and a song and not too much else, right? So I'm not going to make you reflect. Make sure that you've drawn your picture of the purple centipede and written about his characteristics. And if you didn't draw a picture for the cloud men in the 2 chapters ago, do that. And I will see you, well, today. I probably already saw you depending on when you saw this video. Emma, can you say goodbye?
Goodbye.